No one's life is easy. Everyone's life is hard in some shape or form. If you spend your energy moping about how hard your life is, you're going to waste the energy that you could have used to push the stone up the hill. The game of business and entrepreneurialism is a marathon. And a marathon isn't about how fast, it's about if you can last long enough. And then the second thing is you have to pick and choose your moments where you're going to sprint, right? It's all about timing.
Welcome to The O Word, a podcast for overachievers by overachievers. I'm your host, Stephanie Lin. Today's guest is Chef Tu David Phu, an award-winning chef, author, and storyteller who has built a career by honoring his Vietnamese roots while challenging the traditional rules of fine dining. From the son of refugees to top chef competitor and a leading voice in food, Tu's story is about resilience, risk, and the decisions that shaped his path. So, in this episode, you'll learn how to turn adversity into advantage and what it takes to keep going when success isn't guaranteed. Chef, thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thank you for having me. I love conversations like this, just sharing the wealth of knowledge that we have and experiences to inspire. So, absolutely, 100%.
So, let's just start all the way from the beginning. What did success look like in your house growing up?
So, first generation Vietnamese American, parents are from Vietnam. They came over in 75, so they're boat people. And I think coming from where we come from, I remember visiting our Vietnamese island, Phu Quoc, in the mid 90s, and they had shared electricity for the village bathroom, right?
Mm,
So I think success is measured on how you grow up, what resources you have. So I think come over in the United States, my parents had a very low bar of what success meant for them. They just wanted to know that um, their children weren't raised in proximity of war, that there were
mm-hmm,
resources, that we were fed and we had opportunity. I think kind of considering that, um, some say it would be difficult now that I'm looking back on my childhood, growing up in Oakland. We grew up very poor, right? But at the same time, I think reflecting back on it at 41 now, I think the trial and tribulations of hardship introduced me and gave me a narrative and understanding through my parents that the world isn't a safe place. It's not going to be coddled. It's not going
mm-hmm,
to be easy. If you do something, you're not going to be number one. It's not going to be fair. It's going to be
mm-hmm,
incredibly difficult, and you're going to be under-resourced. So
mm-hmm,
I think for my childhood leading up to now, every situation that I face, that has been the narrative.
mm-hmm.
Underdog, I'm not going to have it. It's going to be hard, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You're going to cry. You're expected to cry.
Mm-hmm,
You're
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
expected to struggle. So
Right. So tell us how food really came into play with your journey.
I think it boils down to obsession. We're from Oakland, grew up in West Oakland. And in the communities that we were, where my parents were in their journey arc of their careers, I think as they came over, we benefited from welfare, we benefited from food stamps. Grocery stores weren't in the proximity of our neighborhoods. Um, Food was an afterthought. It's not unique to my story. It's very universal for a lot of diasporic immigrant families, if not
Mm-hmm,
poor families. Um, Instant ramen, back in the day, you get it 5 cents, 10 cents a package. That makes more sense to feed a family of 10 with a dollar that you have
wow.
versus buying goddamn organic eggs for $6 for a dozen, right?
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Organic
True.
wasn't a thing back then, but just for
Mm-hmm,
reference, right?
mm-hmm,
So a lot of processed food because that's what we had. And when I say obsession with food was that I had this obsession with freshness. Because when you strawberry, drink strawberry fruit punch soda or Sunny D, orange juice that sits out on a shelf, or Tang from what
mm-hmm,
an astronaut drank from made from powder.
mm-hmm.
It's cheaper, it's non-perishable, but it tastes nothing like the real stuff. And my
Okay.
obsession with fresh was that it tasted different. It was vibrant. It was electric. For
Mm-hmm.
example, my mother had mint and cucumbers in her backyard, and it didn't taste like anything we bought from the grocery store or the liquor store across the street. And for me, as a
Mm.
sensation as a kid, having that sort of like electricity of freshness, things that weren't processed, kind of hit my palate and taste buds. I was obsessed. For me, in my childhood, I didn't see a lot of happiness and joy in our surroundings. And when you talk about being poor, it's synonymous with sometimes violence due to your neighborhood, substance abuse, mental health and well being, um, victims of war.
Right.
So I saw this amazing thing that my mom did with a fresh ingredient, and her with her alchemy in the kitchen make something amazing and then make people happy. So for me, food was an obsession and arms reach to happiness and good people and good feelings. So it's a safe space for me.
Do you feel that the environment that you grew up in and seeing the day-to-day struggles and challenges that your parents went through in Oakland, do you feel that that shaped your ambition as you were growing up and your direction in life?
100%. I think when I was younger, I was a little bit more bitter about my circumstances and situation. And this is nobody's fault. When you're in poverty, it's nobody's fault. When your parents are immigrants, it's nobody's fault. When you are in a city where your financial resources afford you to live in places of um, toxicity or high crime rates, well, historically, it could be somebody's fault. It could be systematically somebody's fault, but not one single person. And I didn't have the finger to blame, but opposed to internalizing that, I found opportunity to use that fuel for fire. I really don't, and it was very simple. I don't like my situation. I'm going to do everything that I can to get out of it. Other people are afforded opportunities to go to school, study, be academics, be in classrooms. For me, it was food.
What was the turning point when you realized, I could actually turn food into a career?
I think my journey is a little bit different from everyone else's. I think if you watch my film Bloodline, it's on PBS, by the way, just YouTube search Chef 2 Bloodline. It's an Emmy nominated film on PBS that aired nationally in 2022. But I wasn't encouraged. I was actually discouraged by my family and my mother going to culinary school. I
Hmm.
wanted to go to culinary school because I wanted to exercise my creativeness. It's more or less of a career choice. It's more like I would compare being a chef for me as a painter or somebody who wants to do sculpt statues coming out of high school, or if they want to do oil paint based on canvas. It's this obsession of how to express yourself, and I could express myself in these certain ways to make people happy.
Hmm.
And I feel that pretty sure everyone that you've interviewed, there isn't a quantifiable logical success for the things that they do, because I feel that people who are obsessive, those are the people who create success out of their journeys. They do the unreasonable. They go far and beyond and become experts in their own fields. So I would like to urge that if people are looking for formulaic ways to be successful, it's not logical. Right?
Hmm.
You need to be obsessive. You need to
Hmm.
be demanding of yourself. You have to want to learn more, not because sometimes it's competition, but usually the competition's internal. Like, I need to learn more. I want to contribute more. I want to be the best. I want to discover things. And I think that was my driving factor from the age of 18 coming out of high school, like, having this curiosity about food up until today.
Tell me a little bit more about this like obsession, right? Because I imagine your obsession, it sounds like when you were 18, trumped your parents' wishes for you at that time.
I think what you're saying is it trumps my parents' concern for my well-being.
Uh huh.
Rightfully so. For my future in my career ahead of me in my life, but I'm glad that they supported me in that moment. It took a few years of convincing my dad, by the way.
Okay.
Um,
What did he want you to do? What was his goal for you at the time?
To be honest, my family has a very interesting dynamic. I think coming out of high school, they couldn't envision that type of success for me that would be imposed on other children or their friends' children. My cousins, my friends were becoming lawyers, doctors, engineers, the stereotypical Asian American story of how they want their kids to be. I think for me, I was a bad kid in high school. My junior year of my high school year, um, I got locked up in juvenile hall.
Mm,
My p- my dad being very old school and militaristic, by the way,
mm,
because he served 2 wars.
mm.
Kicked me out of the house, and I was out of my house for my whole entire junior year. However, I was
Wow.
smart. I was in AP college preparatory classes for most of my high school years. So, and what that means is that if you consider an A 4.0,
Mhm.
I was getting a grade up. So if I got a B, it was counted as an A at 4.0. If I got an A, it counted as a 5.0, A plus and beyond. So I guess the silver lining, as they say, I was smart in school and it helped bump my grades up. So even though I missed the whole entire year of juvenile of my junior year, I think I
Mhm.
graduated with a 3.2. But even then, like my parents was preparing me to go work in a warehouse. They couldn't envision success in my life because of the trajectory that I was on.
Was there this sense that you had to prove others wrong because of this perhaps preconceived notion that, oh, this is all that he's capable of doing?
No, now that's what I thought it was, but I think now that I'm older, I think I was either blessed or cursed with a creative mind. And I think Tupac speaks to this, and I think Nipsey Hussle the late Nipsey Hussle rapper that's passed away, both rest in peace, is that there's a lot of people in um, marginalized communities like where I come from who are creative and incredibly smart, but they don't have the opportunities to express themselves in the way that they like to, right? Whether it's socially constructed, CD constructed, gender forming constructed. Like, when I was being obsessed with food, I think my anger came from a place where I couldn't express myself. I was in a city where male or men toxicity was associated with the game culture, right? If
Mm,
I did anything that was in the kitchen, it was considered effeminate, right?
mm,
And that's both in my Vietnamese culture and in my modern day juvenile culture being a kid in Oakland, right? So I
mhm,
think there's a lot of anger there, a lot of misunderstandings of what I'm allowed to be, and I think I acted out in a lot of different ways, and I think that's something we don't talk about nowadays. Is that we think that for children, for students, for young professionals, is that if adults craft the journey for them, that everything's going to be okay. And I think that's happening more than ever. And I could relate to kids, not that I would encourage it, but I can relate to kids now where there's spiked record suicide rates because their futures are being determined for them, whether
mhm,
it's indirect or directly. So I could speak to that where my anger, I was infuriated, but I wasn't taught that I was allowed to express being Asian American, and I know all you Asian American immigrant kids know I'm talking about. I wasn't allowed to express. I wasn't allowed to challenge. I was supposed to look at the ground because my parents are war victims and they've gone through hell and high water more than
mm,
I ever have as an Oakland child. And
mm,
I needed to listen to them because they knew best, quote unquote. Right. So
mhm, mhm,
it was anger. Right.
mhm,
And for me, some people don't have the blessing to do it. I just was hard-headed. I was gonna have this quote unquote pursuit of happiness and follow it and dare to take the risks and then take ownership of my self-salvation, as they would teach in Buddhism. Right. So
mm. It sounds like there was a lot of internal work that you also had to do as a young person.
you
I
would
mean,
think.
how did you navigate all that? Because to achieve what you have achieved, it takes an incredible amount of discipline and
It's not
uh,
me.
no.
It's not me. It's not me. It's it's everyone else. And I say this all the time. It's truest to the word, to the term, to the expression. My God, I get teary-eyed. It's every employer that I had that said, "Wow, you're smart. Good job. You can speak. You can write." My basketball coaches, my principal. I'm still in touch with my high school principal to the shout out, Mr. Price at Oakland Tech. Right.
That's
Um,
amazing.
My
Yeah.
my teachers who said, in freshman year, "Wow, you write pretty good. You should consider joining honors classes," right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
People at the library when I needed a space safe to, like, do homework when it was too noisy at home or there wasn't a
Mhm.
dedicated table, you know?
Mhm. Wow.
It's
Wow.
it's 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 I swear to God, it's for me, it was the Oakland Village.
Yeah.
Everyone who ever even if you only known me for, like, 2 weeks of my life and you said something good, that fed into who I am. It's not me. It's never me. It's
Mhm.
bullshit. Somebody's always opened the door for you. Someone always invited you onto a podcast. Shout out to you, Stephanie.
Happy you're
Right?
here.
Um,
Okay. Yeah.
somebody for me, if you want real world examples, like
Mhm.
somebody offered to do a film with me.
Mm. Mhm.
Somebody offered to look at the film. Somebody offered it to put it on PBS.
Right.
Somebody offered me to do a book. And these are things that if you just focus on your self-reflection, you're gonna get fucked in life, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Because the self is usually the most critical. It's usually the outlier that can see opportunity for you that you can't see. And if you're smart enough to listen and brave enough to perceive yourself in other ways where people perceive you and trust it, I think, you know, that's where success lies. I've never went to college. I wish I did, but
Mhm.
I never thought that I would do 2 TED Talks, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and
Right?
they're really good for folks listening. You look it up on YouTube.
Right?
Really
Or or
inspiring
or
stuff.
or doing a film, doing a book, or, work with organizations around the world, whatever, but
Mhm. I feel like, it's worth, mentioning though, you certainly played a role in creating in some of these opportunities for yourself because, um, you know, I think that, people needed to have seen that you have this creative gift and perspective in order to be invited to participate in different opportunities.
I learned this the hard way, but I think that where that comes from is that you know your self-worth. And I think when you sit and just quoting Obama, when you start to sit at these tables where you feel like you don't belong, you realize they're not any smarter than you, right? And that you have a contribution as well. I feel, and I've been in a San Quentin prison. I've been with incarcerated men who I've met who have been the most intelligent people I've met in my life. It's just they've been in unfortunate circumstances. And then, the whole dedication to the cookbook of my mom is that this conviction that she has the same knowledge and data as people at Bon Appetit or any Michelin star chef. Because I'm learning as I get older, amazing ideas can come from anywhere, and we have this implicit bias that it doesn't. So
Mhm.
for me, learning that through my journey, implementing in other places, I've learned to engage, to identify opportunity, right? But save humility for community. And if you're going to go and negotiate opportunities, be relentless because no one's going to cheer for you more than yourself. No one's going to
Mhm.
give you what you deserve more than yourself. And it's
Yeah.
okay to put those very fine defining lines of who you are, what you can do, and what you can serve. Right.
Mhm.
So I think those have been, for me, the defining factors of being in these very interesting, unique spaces where people say, oh, he's a chef. Like, how's he here? Or what is
Mhm.
he doing? Or what does he contribute? And I
Mhm.
think the
Mhm.
vision is, and I think it's not, I think the vision is the opportunity is if you're a true leader in your space, which I'm not calling myself a leader, it's an aspiration to be, is that you're always pushing the boundaries of where things can go, what things have done, not emulating things of the past, learning from the past, but then creating new spaces.
You mentioned, the importance of self-advocacy. Could you give some advice to folks who might be struggling with that a bit, who are accustomed to, um, doing the hard work, but they're just not very good at, crafting that story and speaking up for themselves? What is the advice there?
I always hear young people and old people and everyone in between where they say, I want my work to speak for myself. The thing is, no one knows the work better than you. And if you let the work speaks for yourself, sometimes it get misinterpreted. So
Hmm.
I think there's a strong opportunity to let people know and understand the work that you contribute and what you put on the table. However, um, promoting yourself. but not demoting other people in their presence, right? Pushing
Hmm.
yourself up to be equal, not to be more or not to be less, right? I think that's a clear way for me to avoid, uh, to navigate, to avoid narcissism or egotism or anything like that.
And tell us too about some of the early risks that you took that most people don't see.
Woo! I think one of the first early risks that I did was I wanted to cook progressive Vietnamese food. I wanted to pair it with wine, and I wanted to do it as a tasting menu. And I think at the time, Charles Pham, rest in peace, love that guy. I love his soul, what he's done, what he's contributed. He's a giant that I stand on his shoulders for me to afford my opportunities. But to be specific, if I wanted to do that, if it wasn't in his restaurant, no one else would hire me to do that. So I was daring enough to throw these illegal underground pop-up dinners. And I'm not encouraging anyone to break the law. I'm just putting on record what I did, right? Because I wanted to throw parties and make money off of it. I was ambitious enough to try to do that and went broke in like the first 2 years, lost
Man,
everything. Because
man.
even if you were busy in the first year, your friends and family come out and then they stop coming. And then the test of your product is if the market really likes your stuff. The
Hmm.
first year was horrible. Second year, we got some nods, some local food critics wanting to do it, and it started to get busy. So we thought we were going to make more money. That's not the truth with scale, especially with restaurants. As you get busier, you spend more money. So every dollar of profit that you've made you have to reinvest it into a newer menu, into a cooler menu, into more expensive things. So you're never making money. You're just pushing the money along, right?
Wow. Wow.
So by year three went broke. By year two and a half, year three went broke. But something amazing happened the same year, the same month.
Hmm.
Let's just say within 45 days, Paulo Lucchesi, former food editor of San Francisco Chronicle, got a hold of my phone number somehow, called me and said, "Hey, can you call me back? Let me know that I was going to be part of the Rising Star Chefs for San Francisco Chronicle for 2017, which is amazing." And for
Hmm.
example, Corey Lee was a Rising Star chef,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Dominic Crenn, like all the amazing
Right.
chefs that we've seen from the Bay Area have had that accolade, and I was going to be a part of that class, which is
Hmm.
amazing.
Yeah.
And I think about 40 days later, about a month and a half later, Top Chef calls me and said, "Hey, we want you to be on the show."
Just out of the
So
blue.
those out of the blue. Well, I did
Wow. Yeah.
apply
Uh huh.
haphazardly like the year before, but I didn't think anything was going to come out of it, right?
Okay.
Like just total BS.
Hmm.
Those two things alone changed the trajectory of my career. So now I have notoriety, quote unquote, locally for my pop-ups, for my name brand and business at the time.
That were once
And
illegal.
that were once illegal. Still is, by the way, still is if you do the exact same thing I did, right? But then the second thing would be, going into Top Chef. Now I was slowly over the years building a global audience, right? And that
Hmm.
and that the way that has impacted my presence, uh, the way I engage communities and people and brands has changed the trajectory of my life, like 1,000%.
Yeah. What are some of the lessons that people can take away from what you just shared there?
If you believe in something, even if it drives you to go broke, stick with it until it works out. And I think businesses or opportunities fail is because it's really hard for people to stick it out. And I think closing shop is one thing, pivoting is another. I think you have to consider both, right? Keep it alive and pivot. Keep it alive and pivot, right? And I think for me, I think I wouldn't call it success, but I think it's a reminder that the game of business and entrepreneurialism is a marathon. And a marathon isn't about how fast, it's about if you can last long enough. And then the second thing is you have to pick and choose your moments where you're going to sprint, right? It's all about timing. So I
Hmm.
think I would say that those two things. And I think if you're okay, and this maybe a third thing as well too, with the money that you have to be willing to give it up, right? Like money, you have to understand that money comes and goes.
Hmm.
And right now, as a 41-year-old, And looking back on my past projects, not all of them were successful, and I'm pretty sure other people would say the same thing. But I had to learn how to give up my dependency on money and what was made and trust that it would come back, because that's how investments work, right? For every
Mhm.
20 investments, you get 1 or 2, and 1 or 2 will pay for the rest,
Mhm.
right? And you keep that cycle going, right?
Mhm. What do you say to someone who is perhaps in what feels like a very desperate situation? They're feeling a lot of pressure, in a way where they're like, God, like, this might be the point where I have to give up.
Let's talk about pivot. People think pivoting or taking a temporary pause is giving up. It's not giving up, right? I have such admiration for all the people right now in struggling economies where, they bagged groceries to feed their kids in addition to their main work, right? They became an Uber and Lyft driver. All the moms, dads, Uber and Lyft driving, before and after the kid pickups or after work or doing it 2 in the morning. That's the fuck that's the fucking hard work. That's
Mhm.
the ground zero bottom. I don't have anything left. My point is that even if you have to do those things to pay the bills, there's admiration in that work.
Mhm.
That's admirable. You're pivoting, you're taking care of stuff, you're being responsible, right? But the goal is stay focused. This is temporary. Don't get comfortable in it, right? You
Mhm.
still can dig up. You can still find your way out of the hole and focus and work on what you want to work on. Remind yourself that this is temporary. My father was forced into retirement because he was a fishmonger. He got hit with a forklift and he was getting paid under the table and he didn't have insurance.
Mhm.
My sister had to come home and help pay for the bills. And you
Mhm.
know what I did? I gave up working in Napa Valley and Mission rated restaurants. And you know what I did? Even with this Michelin training, I went to go work at a pizza delivery place in
Mhm.
Fremont,
Mhm.
take care of my dad.
Yeah.
I was embarrassed at the time, but as I get older, I look at it, I'm like, I am proud that I did that. When you take care of people, you take care of bills, that is amazing work. That's the hard work, right? You're putting your ego aside and you're getting shit done.
How did you process any doubt or setbacks? Like, how do you process that when you're in the middle of them?
Ooh, that's a good question. It's okay to cry. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel like things aren't going to resolve itself. But also, if you could be okay with that and be honest with how you're feeling, allow yourself to feel that way. I think the most important thing is reaching out to other people. Learning learning that your suffering isn't unique. And I think connecting with people in community is one thing that really helped me get through my rough moments. But the second thing was reading. When I've read as a kid, Alchemist, super easy, super beautiful, inspiring, easy read book. So many relatable topics of a kid from an author from Brazil. But learning that there's the suffering that I'm enduring is not unique to myself, nor in this time, but in all of history. Not just it's not geographically fixed.
Mhm. Mhm.
Reading, which then inspired me to connect with people in other ways and being really open about how I felt about stuff because I learned that my suffering wasn't unique to myself. And I think that's the thing that we suffer most in the 2026 coming out pandemic, that we think our suffering is unique. It's not.
How do you decide when to take a big risk versus play it safe?
What is playing it safe? I
So you just take risks all the time.
don't know if I call it a risk. I think you figure out the best solution to whatever you're trying to solve. Whatever that best solution is, you try to find the most seamless way to that, and then you de-risk along the way. And it's different personalities too. Like I think there's personalities like myself and other people out there where um they live their experience with risk is completely different from others.
Mhm.
So, and I
Mhm.
think that's what I am, is that I always try to find the joy that I have in the food industry and the projects that I work on are very complex, no solution problems, and those are the spaces that I live in.
Mhm.
Um, and I find joy in trying to solve the problem. Is it high risk based on this definition? Absolutely.
Yeah. Right,
but
right,
I
right.
have this, but I have this understanding is um, you can always start over. You can always pivot.
What's one thing you know now that you wish you knew when you were 25 years old?
Can I push you back a little bit earlier? Maybe
Yeah.
17,
Yeah.
17,
Let's
18.
do it.
Fin- financial literacy. Financial literacy. Um, how to open a business checking account, how to navigate taxes, how to put away money, how to ask for a loan. I wish I learned those things in my high school years coming out because that would have
Mhm.
served me so much more. And I feel like those are such foundational, basic things that I feel like every high school graduate should learn, and we just didn't, or we did. I mean, we didn't. And if we did, most likely they took a class in college. But I
Mhm.
think you should be afforded to learn that sooner. How's about this for perspective? You're 18 years old and you're old enough to go to war and pull a trigger on a gun.
Mhm.
21, you're old enough to consume alcohol,
Mhm.
where you put yourself at danger to others, in your own body with limitations, right? If you exceed those limitations, but we're not taught financial literacy. That's so stupid to me.
So if you were to see your 17, 18-year-old self now, what would you tell them?
Um, take some financial literacy classes and learn how to move money around, learn how to protect your money, learn contracts. Right, because
Mhm.
I've been burned a lot in my early and young career because I was ambitious, and I thought ambition and talent was overcompensating for any legal concerns that I would have in business
Mm.
negotiations, and it wasn't. And,
Mhm.
it's not just unique to chefs. Athletes, happens to athletes, entertainers, actors, musicians, everyone in between. When you
Mhm.
don't know how money moves, you don't know legal language or understand legal language on how it affects you, or the resources to know how to get a person, a legal advisor, to help navigate your legal woes or financials and negotiations. Oh, it could lose a lot of money off of that.
What is one piece of advice that sounds good, but is actually not so effective that you've received?
Play it safe.
Oh, okay. All right. So somebody in your life has been like, maybe don't take that big risk.
I think it's the perception of that, and I think just going back to it before, I think everything that I do, everything that you should do, you should analyze it and de-risk it, but don't avoid things because you think it's risky.
What do you want people who are chasing those big dreams who are listening right now? What do you want them to take away from your story?
I think you have to be ambitious enough to know that at some point in your career, your big dreams will become accomplished and continue to dream bigger and bigger dreams, right? I think, for example, I don't want to say that I've done everything in my life that I wanted to do, but for me, going to culinary school was a dream, right? And once I accomplished that, I had to dream bigger and dream bigger and then dream bigger and then dream bigger. My advice to them is don't stop dreaming, right? Continue to push yourselves. Don't be satisfied with yourself in any shape or form. You have to be your worst self critic, but at the same time, your biggest champion, right? You have to be able to know, you have to define your limitations if there are any. And if there isn't, just keep going, right? But then at the same time, you have to have a real world, real life assessment about how you perform, right? Things aren't great because you thought you did your best. I think it's bullshit. You have to weigh yourself against the market, about against any competition, against your industry, against your peers. How are you performing against them? And you know what? It's not always glorious. You're not always going to be number one. You're not always going to be top 10. You're not going to be top 20. You probably only be the best in your county, your city, your state, whatever. But it's important to gauge yourself, but then apply yourself so that way, whether you climb the ranks of a ladder, get included in a conversation, or continue in some other shape or form. I'm definitely not in the places where I want to be yet in terms of things to accomplish, but you know, more to come.
You said more to come. So what's next for you?
Ooh, I've been on this very private but very interesting journey with commodity shrimp, and I've just had huge blessings and opportunity with work with Lori and Cora Pete, who are husband and wife marine biologists who started Monterey Bay Aquarium, Smart Catch, with James Beard and some other sustainable seafood organizations who have huge impact in the world. But going to them and traveling to Southeast Asia and learning how commodity shrimp works and the exploitation of Asian farmers. And
Commodity
out of
shrimp?
that,
Am I hearing that correctly? Commodity
correct. So,
shrimp?
when you think of commodity, think of it means there's a crop or there's a product or ingredient out there where it's being exploited. It's being mass produced.
Mm,
So the global economy can absorb it. So, for example, commodity coffee, they grow as much coffee as they can so they could sell it for really, really cheap. That's a commodity, right?
okay.
Wheat's a commodity, sugar's a commodity, chocolate's a commodity. But I
Mm,
didn't, but then I've learned a few years ago that shrimp is also a commodity because shrimp can be high producing. And what happens with commodity shrimp is that you have, and people forget this about any ingredient that's farmed or grown in the world. If it's farmed or grown in the world, um, it's always done by small farmers, period. And what happens is that these conglomerates come into these developing countries or smaller countries, and they tell these small farmers, we'll buy all your shrimp, but we'll only pay you a third of what you're going to get.
hmm,
Oh, you wanna complain? We're the only buyers in this region. We bought out all your distributors, right? So they're basically putting their heel on the neck of these small farmers and producers so they can increase their margins. And by doing so, you have low quality products. So the only way the farmers can get to that mass production is the chemicals that the
mm,
conglomerates give them, right?
mm,
My impact for that shrimp farmer, even if I decide to buy it, go on TV, talk a story, create a series about it, will be minuscule, minuscule.
mhm,
The true change in the food industry, and this is me speaking on my previous biases, but no longer, is that if I can sway and inspire a whole sector of consumers USA domestically, globally, to start to buy clean shrimp. And we've seen that firsthand in companies with coffee and chocolate where they demanded consumers demanded fair trade coffee. So for me, that's a passion of mine. Is it easy? No.
Yeah, you're
It's
trying to
been,
create a global movement here, it sounds like.
I'm trying to do it through a product. So I'll be coming up with shrimp chips. So hopefully I'm trying to land on shelves in 2027. I've already said too much, but I will ping you privately for more details. Yeah.
Great. So we can break the news on the podcast then, right? Shrimp
Yes.
chips coming from you in 2027.
Yes, the aspiration is CCOF organic, non-GMO, clean label, the whole nine.
Can you believe that a kid from Oakland, whose parents fled warfare, basically, can you believe that you've been able to achieve what you've achieved today?
I wake up and I feel very blessed. I feel very blessed, and um, I try to make sure that I'm not self-serving for it. I It's my responsibility to push that credit off to everyone else who's helped me get here. Right. And I think, as you know me, Stephanie, I try to do my best. I'm not saying I'm the best, but I try to do my best to serve and reserve and put my commitments back into community. But if you guys want to know, if any of your viewers want to know the impact you have on community, whether it's donating, um, working with community beneficiaries, giving them resources, I am that child, right? I am that child. Like, uh, I am so blessed. So I feel like this pressure because I was afforded with these opportunities and support to really go hard. Like, it's not an option for me.
Mm, mhm,
It's a fucking responsibility, right?
mhm,
And
mhm.
sometimes those things aren't glorious, right? So I try to weigh that on the front of my mind every day. I wake up and it's not easy, but it's fulfilling.
What is the advice to somebody who might have been in a similar situation as you were when you were a teenager, you know, growing up in perhaps a neighborhood that's under resourced, and they're not, presented with the same opportunities as others. Maybe this person feels deeply misunderstood. What is your advice to that person?
That's a great question. I I I don't think these opportunities of support came to me. I had to find it, right? If I were to just go to school and go home or hang out with my friends growing up, I wouldn't be in opportunities to be on a basketball team where my coach said I did a good job, or be a part of a classroom where my friend said I should join, and maybe the teacher can give me a recommendation to be an honors class. For me, the way I've defined that is my nest. I was very lucky to find my nest, to help coddle me, to give me the things and the resources I need to get me going. And it's not going to be all in one place. It's going to be bits and pieces. I would encourage that kid to go find your nest, right? You have a responsibility to do it no matter what neighborhood you grew up in. It's going to be scary, but you're going to have to find your nest, right? The blessing is in life, of course, is resources, but the blessing is that you woke up and you have air in your lungs. And I know whoever that kid is, they can speak to this the way I can speak to them because I know what it feels like to wake up and, talk to your friend the day before and they're not there anymore, right? You have self-salvation. You have the opportunity to find your nest and to go to places to create your nest. And no one said it was easy, right? We all know statistically that the gradient that we have to push the stone up the hill, the depth of that curve is deeper than most of the world, if not the population or if not the city, right? The question is, do you have it in you to get out of it? And and being spiritual, of course, people are raised and born into privileges and underprivileges. I try to have the perspective as a young person, as I get older and as I travel more, I learned that my situation, even though it was underprivileged, there are definitely way more people in the world who have less privileges than I have throughout history, throughout time, geopolitically, whatever, right? But understanding that is that no one's life is easy. Everyone's life is hard in some shape or form. If you spend your energy moping about how hard your life is, you're going to waste the energy that you could have used to push the stone up the hill.
You
And that's for all of us, right? Even if you get to the place where you get all the money in the world, there's things that you can't control in life that doesn't have to do with money. Like your parents are going to get old, they're going to get sick, you're going to get sick. War is going to have. It's going to be this ongoing forever. I should have. I need. I want. Right.
hmm
So
Yeah.
wake up every day. You have air in your lungs. You choose to do something with it or not. It's up to you. There's no right or wrong.
Chef Tu David Phu, thank you so much.